Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So let's talk about what's going on today. Are we recovering from yesterday's nasty correction? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what to expect tomorrow as well. And let's talk about getting ready for Bitcoin's next run. That's right. Let's talk about all these things and more. Let's do it, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are starting out the day, a little red. That's to be expected. Bitcoin is starting out a little bit lower than yesterday. Last night, actually, we went up all the way up to about 115 before coming back down to where we are. So roughly the same as yesterday. Still, a lot of very panicked people out there. A lot of people are very, very fearful about what's coming this Friday. That's really what it comes down to. Wall Street is afraid. And you know what? It's all because of the Fed fund rate. That's what it comes down to, right? Whether we will get a cut next month, but these Fed governors, right? Some are on board, some are not. Last night I talked about what was discussed in the minutes, right? It was the first time in 30 plus years that two Fed governors actually went against the majority vote. That is very rare. So obviously there are some that has strong opinions about cutting and some that don't want it cut. So there is a Fed governor, Lisa Cook, that Trump is calling her to resign because supposedly the Federal Housing Finance Agency director urged the Department of Justice to launch a criminal investigation into her mortgage records. Supposedly she falsified documents for mortgages. I don't know. I don't know the exact details. But she's like, no, I'm not going to be bullied into resigning. So obviously, a lot of contention right now on Fed governors. A lot of pressure on them. But we have some very bullish or dovish, I should say in this case, Fed governors as well, right? You got Bullard, who is backing 100 basis point cut for this year, not 50 basis point, 100 basis point. So the first one being maybe 50 basis point, and then we have a second one 50 basis point. There are some that agree we need to lower rates ASAP, right? And he is actually one of the contenders to be the next Fed chair too, after Powell is gone. So maybe that's the reason he's trying to gain the favor of Trump so he gets appointed next. Who knows? But yeah, right now it's kind of up in the air, right? Are we going to get a rate cut or not? Right now, it does seem like we are still going to get one in September regardless. The percentage, though, is dropping. We started out 96%, then dropped to 80-something percent. Now we're down to 79%. Those odds are still good. We're still probably going to get a rate cut. But the 50 basis point one, seems like that's out of the window for September. And how many more are we going to get for the remaining of this year, right? That's the big question. But yesterday's correction, actually this whole week's correction, has a lot of people kind of worried. This has nothing to do with crypto, but I saw this is pretty significant. Meta is putting brakes on a massive AI talent spending spree. They've been spending billions upon billions to get more talent into the AI division. And now, because stocks have fallen, some of these companies are starting to rethink all that spending. And I'm sure a lot of other companies out there too are halting their hiring as well, not just in AI, just in general, right? So Not that good. Not that good. And I saw this too. The dollar falls against every major currency as U.S. stocks post the worst global underperformance since 1993. What does this mean? Even though the Dow and S&P and NASDAQ hit all-time highs earlier this year, other markets from around the world have gone up substantially more than the U.S. Maybe this is due to the fact that we're so worried about rate cuts. Maybe Powell has too many of these, meetings or press conferences or whatever, right? Like, why is there a Jackson Hole speech? Outside of FOMC press conference, that should be it. But it seems like he's speaking like every month, and it gets markets spooked. Every time he talks, markets go down. They never go up because he's always been hawkish and more hawkish. That's probably the reason why the U.S. stock market is actually underperforming versus all the other ones out there. So, yeah, it kind of sucks. Can't wait until we actually get a new Fed chair next year. But in the meantime, we just got to wait it out, so to speak. So tomorrow will be the big press conference, I guess, or speech from Powell at Jackson Hole, and everyone's waiting to see what he says. So in the meantime, markets are going to stay volatile and a little rocky. Speaking of volatility and rockiness, yesterday we had another massive outflow for Bitcoin and Ethereum, 316 million for Bitcoin and 240 million for ETH. And all of that's from BlackRock. So again, yeah, Wall Street's a little scared right now. And Wall Street tends to be very reactionary. When they see some red, what do? They sell off. They dump. Okay? Not everyone on Wall Street are long-term investors. A lot of them are short-term investors, and they just follow the herd. They see everyone else is selling, and they jump in. But when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto, that's not what you want to do. The longer you hold, the more you make. That's generally how it works with Bitcoin. But you know what? There are some that won't understand, but those that do will continue to stack sats and benefit from it, right? So that's why we still have a lot of long-term holders, even new institutions and companies, they're still loading up. They're either getting involved or loading up because they know short-term macro conditions or short-term weakness, they will always come. They will come and go. But long-term, our financial system isn't stable, built on a house of cards. All this with monetary policy, rates, inflation, they will continue to be problems forever. That's why we have Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin was created. So if you understand that, you will hold on and DCA Bitcoin forever, right? So we got someone new, Mac House, purchased their first 18 Bitcoin. It's a small amount, but hey, their target is 1,000 Bitcoins. You got to start somewhere. Just like all the other companies that have started with their small purchases, now they have thousands, tens of thousands, to hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. That's how you do it. Accumulator addresses, sky high right now. So despite the fact it seems like, well, there's so much fear right now, Wall Street's dumping. Well, there are still a lot of people, especially long-term holders, or people that are new that believe, that are coming into this space. Because we have a lot of new addresses that are just accumulating. And they are accumulating because they're getting ready for the next run, the next phase, so to speak. And there are a couple of graphs, well, a couple of metrics actually, that show that this next phase that will take us to the top will actually start very, very soon. According to this person, Jelly, says we have 1,064 days of expansion with most of the gains taking place in the final 30 to 60 days of the cycle. And that window kicks off next week. Interesting. Interesting. Maybe it kicks off next week because of the Jackson Hole speech. Or because we're going to get our rate cut, right? Or maybe it has nothing to do with any of that and it's just according to plan. Here's another one too. Here's another one that shows that we're getting ready. You see that those green dots on the bottom, right? These are measurements of local bottoms or local tops. And you could see how we're in the second phase, right? Every cycle, there's like two like legs up or parabolic phases. And we just formed that second green dot. And that's when things get really crazy. So it kind of aligns with the previous person. Basically, we're getting ready for that next big run. We'll see. We'll see. There are a lot of things happening in the next few months. Rate cuts, ETF approvals. A lot of them are being approved in October. And we got that Santa rally to look forward to too. A lot of things to look forward to in the next few months. That's right. Also, it's not just about Bitcoin. Obviously, we're in altcoin season. Dominance is still low, below 60%. And you still have like ETH that's acting very strong. In fact, there's a legendary Bitcoin whale that sold off all of his Bitcoin and decided to go long on ETH. This person's actually crazy. I take that back. He didn't sell all of his Bitcoin. He sold a large amount though. Out of his 14,837 Bitcoin, he sold 670, roughly around 76 million. And then, according to this, he decided to throw a 10x long on ETH at 4,300. So he's a little down on that. But there are some that believe ETH is going to go a lot higher this cycle. Interesting. Ethereum whales unfazed by correction. Here's how much they bought. Big investors purchased 1.7 billion worth of ETH in the past few days. So there are a lot of big whales coming into ETH right now. Institutions are getting involved, right? And now you got a lot of big whales just coming in. That's definitely going to help it move forward. And open interest reaches all-time high. A lot of leverage right now. This is the reason why market makers are having field days, liquidating longs and shorts. A lot of open interest right now. But outside of ETH, what else? Sui is having record growth right now. Their TVL is skyrocketing. Number of dApps and users are skyrocketing. Their price trails, like what this title says. But really, it's only because of from the top. But they had a phenomenal growth earlier this year and last year. So they're not really trailing. They brought in a lot of Bitcoin assets. They got a lot of synthetic and wrapped Bitcoin assets. It makes up 20% of Sui's TVL. So even though a lot of these chains, they're operating separately from Bitcoin, but they have a lot of Bitcoin related assets within them. And that helps overall with the DeFi ecosystem. And a lot of these gain yield through DeFi as well. So we also recently got tested 1,100, 1,200 transactions per second. So the chain could definitely handle a lot more, and they were added on Robinhood recently. And Robinhood's been adding a whole bunch of assets. They're definitely competing head on with Coinbase at this point. And they purchased an exchange too. So they're preparing. They're preparing for this next run or the altcoin season, whatever is coming next. So good for them and good for Sui. All right. That's pretty much it. Let's see. The red got redder. I know that's not a word, but Dow is down minus 350, NASDAQ down 100. Speaking of Robinhood, it's slightly down. MicroStrategy and Coinbase slightly down. Circle is down a little more. Overall, I think people are just waiting for what's coming tomorrow. That's really it. But yesterday, you know, mid-afternoon and nighttime, we had a little recovery. In fact, someone like BNB, which I now put on my watch list, BNB just slowly broke into new high territory. That's quite amazing. Quite amazing. So they're at 850 now, but yesterday it hit 880. So BNB quietly has been moving up without anyone noticing. So I know Chainlink had a really good day yesterday. It's still holding almost at 26. Their local high is about 31. After that, then they can start approaching their 2021 high. So we had a slight recovery yesterday with alts. Let's see if we see more of that today. All right. Let's do some Q&A. Jim Bean says, I swear if tomorrow news is bad, I'm going to crash out. You never know. Powell tends to be more hawkish and dovish. Over the last however many years I've been covering FOMC, probably the last 3-4 years, he never does what the market wants. That's the bottom line. If the market wants, you know, when we first started cutting, like last year, you know, it was never as much as people wanted. And same thing with hiking, you know, when people wanted him to hike the rates, he was always slow at doing it too. That's why, you know, Trump labels him too late Powell, because he tends to be more cautious. He tends to wait longer than I guess people want. Yeah, so supposedly Easy, there's a new Easy coin by Kanye, but then it seems like Kanye is not part of it. People used AI to create a video of him, and I guess it blew up, but according to Grok, that's not him. And he didn't post on his own social media. It's some like weird new socials and stuff. So I wouldn't touch that. There are some things that are getting more expensive. That's for sure. Yesterday, I saw a headline news about Sony is raising the price of PS5 by $50. So a unit that was 500 now becomes 550. Their pros from like 700 to 750. Companies are starting to hike up prices. Look at this headline. Walmart hikes full year outlook, even as it says tariff costs are rising. So, yeah. So all this is not going to be good about, or not good for the rate cuts that we want. Kansas City's Fed shows hesitation about widely expected September rate cut. Well, he needs to shut it. We need that rate cut. We need it now. We want that rate cut. We want the cuts as much as possible. You know, Trump is not going to back down from the tariffs. The tariffs are going to stay. They're not going to be removed. So it is what it is. So the big question is whether we're going up or down tomorrow. You know, it really, I can't guess. I can't guess what Powell's going to say. The rate cut in September is pretty much baked in, but people know that. People really want to hear what he says beyond that. After September, how many more cuts are we going to get? Is there a chance of a 50 basis point cut? And what about leading into 2026? Are we going to get more cuts? And how does he see things? If he becomes like a dick, like what he said in the last FOMC press conference, he's like, well, I don't think we're going to need any more rate cuts, or we're not thinking about any more rate cuts for the remainder of this year or something. Like if he's like really hawkish or acts like he's hawkish, markets are not going to like that at all. If he plays ball and says, well, you know what? Based on the jobs data and based on some of the other data I'm looking at, you know, it warrants more rate cuts. Or they signal that even though inflation is ticking upwards, we need to save jobs. And we're thinking about further reductions going forward. Something like that. If he's like dovish like that, well, markets will explode tomorrow. But he generally don't say things like that. Jim Beam, no. I mean, that's what everyone wants to hear. This guy gets it. He's probably going to be the next Fed chair. That's a good name. Do they vote on a Fed chair or how's it appointed? No, Trump gets appointed. President gets to appoint. That's the funny thing. The president can appoint Fed chairs and I think Fed governors and presidents too, but he can't fire them. He can only appoint them, which is kind of weird. I guess same thing with federal judges. He can appoint, or Supreme Court justices, I guess. He could appoint them, but he can't fire them. So there are some things that are kind of weird. I guess it makes sense because the whole thing is you're not supposed to pressure them into doing what you want as a president. But still, I mean, you're the one that's appointing them. Keep in mind, it was Trump that appointed Powell back in his first term. So he can't really blame anyone else. He appointed Powell. Looking at a liquidation heat map. Yesterday, we actually went through a couple of them. We cleared out some of the shorts on top. Then we came back down, clearing out some of the longs. This is what the market makers do during volatile times. If we go lower, we will probably clear out these two longs. One at 112.6, 112.3, and maybe go to 112 if we have more weakness. If we're going above, we're definitely going to clear out these all the way up to 115. I guess it just really depends on where the momentum is today. Lazaro says, Powell will be Powell tomorrow, no hope. We know that. But I think he has to play ball. I think he can't be just so contentious, right? I get how he has to stand on his own 2 feet and he shouldn't be pressured by Trump administration or anyone else. But it's not just the administration that wants rate cut. I mean, literally everyone wants it. And not just one, multiple. We need that rates to come down. This headline actually tells you a lot. Our stock market actually has been underperforming. The biggest underperformance since 1993 versus other stock markets around the world. They're like blowing up right now. This also, I think, has been heavily influenced by tariffs, trade wars, rates, Powell, FOMC stuff, Fed stuff. Larry's asking about Link. Link has been actually doing very well recently. They formed a big partnership with ICE, the parent company in New York Stock Exchange, and that really gave them some legitimacy. So they have been doing very well. I Like Water has a good comment, a good question. Are we worried about what's good for the country or what's good for our pockets now? The money's going to come regardless, but we have to be smart about the next few years. You know, it's one of those things, right? Most people care about their pockets now. They don't care about the future. If I'm being honest, most people just want to make money now, make that bread now. But when it comes to the future, yeah, I mean, obviously higher inflation is no good for the future, right? But it's tough. It's tough to know what is the right move now versus the future when it comes to like what we're talking about, all this economics stuff. But, you know, investing in Bitcoin and holding is definitely the best way to prepare for the future. No matter no matter what happens, all the macro stuff we're talking about now, no matter what happens, over time, the US dollar is going to decrease, it's going to debase, decrease buying power, and unless you hold assets like Bitcoin or real estate or whatever, unless you hold hard assets, you're going to lose out. So ultimately, that's the only thing that I really care about, and most of you guys should care about, is how you protect your buying power from inflation. And the best way, in my opinion, is to hold Bitcoin. Pat Jr., appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. 31 months. That's almost 3 years. Almost 3 years. I don't think I've seen a member for more than 31 months. If any of you guys are members and you've been members for 30 plus months, you should chime in. Ball says the Great Depression happened because the Fed held increased rates to protect their gold position while the economy deteriorated. Yeah, let's hope we never see that again. You know, like you figure with all the smartest financial people in charge, right? We should never have like these major catastrophes, but they tend to happen every 20, 30 years. I mean, after the Great Depression, we had many other bad times. I know like in the 80s, we had Black Monday. What is that what they called it? And then obviously 2008, we had the great housing bubble. It seems like every 20 years we have something. 20, 30 years. We had a pretty good drop in November till April, May because of the tariff announcements. I don't know if that counts. Ryan, I just talked about AVAX yesterday. So stop making it sound like I don't talk about them. I just talked about it yesterday. You just don't watch all my streams. Oh my God, look at Dre. Member for 47 months. That's 1 month away from 4 years. That's crazy, Dre. Thank you. I don't think anyone's going to beat that. I don't even think I have my membership open for that long. ETH is still holding pretty darn strong, though. Gotta say, gotta hand it to ETH, man. I had a lot of doubts about ETH. Okay, I didn't think it was going to do nearly as well as it's doing now, if I'm being honest. It was really underperforming. It had its lunch eaten by others. But man, those institutions just came in, started gobbling up everything. Made it really strong once again, kind of like 2021. But it's not just them. Others are picking up strength too. Chainlink is still acting very strong right now. I got BNB's acting very strong right now. Sol's not bad either. Sol needs to hold above this 186 mark. Robinhood turned green. That's good. Yesterday I told you guys it like this was just way. This is just a panic drop right here. Coinbase is about to turn green, which is also good. We may actually get a green day today. I wouldn't be surprised if we turn green today. And then tomorrow will be the big day. What's my price target for AVAX? I don't know if AVAX could get back to their 2021 high. I mean, look at that. They were like in 150s, okay? I don't know about that. But can they do like a 5x, 4x from here? Yes. Can they go to 80? Can they go to 100? I think so. Maybe like, 100. That's like a 5x. No, 125 would be 5x. Can they do a 5x? Yeah. I guess maybe they can get back to their all-time high because I think everything else is going to do at least a 3 to 5x. So can they get back up there? Sure. Let's just say yes. But right now, they haven't shown a lot of strength. They need to get back to like around the 50s. Okay, that was back in November. Once they get back to 50s, then the momentum is back. But right now, they're not even close to breaking 30, which is a local resistance. Eric, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a fan of Aerodrome finances. I think they're pointless. You just use Uniswap instead. What's my take on XRP? I think they're going to do well. They have done well. They broke their 2021 high earlier this year. And I think they're going to continue to go. So, XRP fans, XRP Army should be happy. George, thoughts on stablecoin being a worse version of CBDC? Instead, it's DCBDC. I don't know what the D in front of CBDC means. A digital central bank digital currency. There's two digitals there. Anyway, stablecoins are not worse versions of CBDC because they're run by private companies. You got Tether and you got Circle being the two biggest ones. It's not like the Fed is taking over them. And the rules around stablecoins are actually quite relaxed. A lot of people think that Genius Bill is way too relaxed. But it passed. It's law. So, no, they're nowhere close to being CBDCs or worse versions of CBDCs. Ed is asking, George, is it me? I have the feeling it's very quiet in the NFT space. Not many people talking about it anymore. Well, no, it's not just you. I thought you were about to say that NFTs are quite early and they're going to come back. No, NFTs were the fad for 2021. Now the fad for 2025 is memes. But it doesn't mean that they're completely gone. They will stay forever. But it's much easier to launch a meme than NFTs. And now you don't have to worry. There were a lot of fear back in 2021 that the SEC was going to sue everyone and throw everyone in jail. I mean, look at what happened to the Tornado Cash guys. They got shut down and they got thrown in jail. Basically, almost like, it sounded like without due process. And now they reversed that. They let them out. So now it's like open season, basically, in the United States. Seems like you can do whatever the hell you want. And the SEC is not going to go after you. So the most logical and easiest thing to do is just launch your own meme coin. Just don't promise people that they're going to make any money. Just make it a community thing. And that's it. You know, NFTs, you got to hire developers. You got to create all those avatars and profile pictures and all that stuff. And the fees to do all of that and to get listed on OpenSea or wherever is so complex. J Skills. I don't know which people you're referring to that are broke. Crypto people or regular people? Because crypto people are not broke. How could he be broke when Bitcoin is at $114,000? All right, guys. I'll let you guys go. Stay strong, my friends. The next run is coming. It's got to get past tomorrow. Jackson Hole. That's just a funny name to me. Every time I say Jackson Hole, it's funny. But yeah, we got Jackson Hole press conference / announcement / I don't know. Let's just call it Powell Day. We got to look forward to that. And then, you know, we'll be good. We'll be good. All right. Stay strong, guys. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Look forward to my video tonight. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.